All right. What's up, everybody? We are here with what has arguably been called the best series of 2022. That's right. You might be wondering, Spirit best series? What are you talking about, pig? Well, guess what? Spirit last year had one of the funnest, craziest, most action-packed series to qualify for Katowice. So that's right. In 2022, you can look it up over on my pig channel. Basically, it was him versus Nice in a qualifying best-of-5 match at the World Championship. It was the craziest match ever. And he's done it again. Once again, from Katowice, in a qualifying TvT, but this is not your regular mum and dad's TvT. This is modern TvT. It's action-packed, it's crazy, and it had myself, Tastosis, Kalaris, Rotterdam, all of the commentators, as well as the pros, the audience, everybody going, what the hell did we just watch? And I didn't get to cast this series, and I did miss some parts of it since I was working at the same time. And kind of covering some other series also, but I'm so excited to get a chance to cast this series because Cure, representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming, is in the bottom right. He is the #1 favorite to get out of the round of 36 of Katowice, which is kind of like a play-in bracket to make it into the group stage where only 4 more players will get slots in the group stages. And he is up against Spirit, who is, of course, a big underdog in this matchup, a very good European player, but nowhere near that same pedigree. Now it's Proxy 2X Reaper. Spirit's going out. He needs to immediately turn around, and he does pull back, realizing, okay, I'm being Proxy Reapered. He's going to pull some SCVs to the high ground as well. Notice on the control groups, there is a Reaper there ready, along with those SCVs. Interestingly, Spirit doesn't control group the SCVs, which is very different to what most players do with the micro. Very good SCV surround, though. And he barely keeps his own Reaper alive for now. But I think he should probably pull back from the ledge. He's making a Hellion, another Reaper, and a bunker over at the front. Second depot is going to go down, or third depot, sorry. This is the second depot here. Q is going to come back in. 3 Reapers going to dive into this base. And you got to be really careful as Spirit. He does not want to lose his Reaper or Hellion. If he lets his Reapers get focused down, he could lose this very quickly. He's already lost 2 SCVs there. Make it... There we go. 2 SCVs go down. A third one is very damaged. The Hellions are now out, though. And a Hellion is very good up against Reapers, especially with the SCVs to tank, but another 2 SCVs get picked off. Q are getting some very good damage. That grenade is beautiful. A 5th SCV. If Q just gets out now, it's been a massive success. 6 SCVs. He's going to get a Reaper, but he does lose one of his own. 6 SCVs. Very successful so far, because guess what? Behind this, he can now start his command center in the near future. However, whoa, he goes back in! The madman! He jumps back in! He gets another Reaper kill, but oh no, he doesn't actually. He loses another Reaper, so going back in there, a big mistake, and of course, Spirit keeps his Reaper alive. I didn't think he'd go back up that ledge, but I think Q was assuming Spirit might move some units over to that right side. Now, Spirit is going to go for the high-risk maneuver. He's going to send 2 Reapers across the map while continuing Reaper Hellion production at home, but he doesn't realize Q is still non-stop on these units. However, Q is supply blocked. Oh my god, Q! Oh no! If the Cyclone could already be halfway built and it would shut down these Reapers, but instead he's supply blocked. He's gonna have to try and defend with SCVs. Oh, but Spirit gets surrounded, but he actually slips out of there. Those Reapers did butter themselves up. They greased themselves up before climbing into vents, into Q's vents. And here we go. He's going to go for a counterattack. 6 Reapers versus 3 Hellions and a Reaper. Very scary situation for Spirit to be in. He pulls some SCVs and a Mule, but he's got to be careful. Q has a lot of these Reapers. The SCVs are getting taken down. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, the last Reaper is going to get surrounded. No, he's not. 4 kills. Spirit keeps it alive. The command center over here did lose the SCV. Building on it, one of Q's SCVs goes down. Looks like that Reaper of Spirit goes down, but not before Q lost 7 SCVs. Q needs to do some more damage here, but I love the way he's kiting his Spirit. Hellions don't attack as fast as these Reapers, but they do so much more damage when they are hitting, and Q is going to commit here. But look at that micro from Spirit. Those Reapers are toast. They go down. The barracks landing in the base, unable to really cause much distraction. And as the dust settles, the command center, 70% complete, or 80% complete for Spirit, 90% complete for Q. Spirit's ahead in SCV. They're both going for 2 Cyclones. It seems like this should be Spirit coming out on top, and that is simply because he is killing the barracks. That's going to get set on fire. Very unlikely that makes it home, and that means he'll have to build a new barracks at home in the near future, or otherwise he won't be able to build more factories and the like. Unless he's... Oh, he's actually got 2 barracks floating home. Sorry, I forgot about that. It was 2 barracks. So one of them will get home. The other one will burn down. But, oh, look at this ambush. Q is setting up an ambush out here, but he's outnumbered. Oh, and he uses both of his lock-ons on Hellions. Now, killing 2 Hellions seems nice, but is it worth losing a Cyclone? I do not think so. He does take out another Hellion there, though, so 3 Hellions going down for a Cyclone is not too bad. He does barely get away with this other Cyclone. Very good defense by Kua there on that one. Pulling back into a defensive stance. He's got a third command center on the way. Third command center also on the way for Spirit. This game is reset to a very even situation. Spirit takes out the SCV on the command center, but Kua immediately replaces it. And he's poking around in that natural as well. 2 SCV advantage for Spirit in this game. He's managed to weather the storm quite well. Now, you've got to remember, Spirit has home ground advantage. This was played at Katowice at the World Championship, and Spirit, as a Polish player, gets the home ground advantage, right? So he has the ability to not be jet lagged. It's the first day of the tournament. They would have only flown in a couple days earlier, probably 2 days earlier, I would imagine, Kua. So he could be dealing with a little bit of jet lag, especially this is the very end of the day. Now, the very end of the day in the Europe, that is like basically probably about the equivalent of maybe 5 a.m. It's getting close to the end of the day. Not the very end, but close. Probably 4 or 5 a.m. Korea Standard Time. Now, you might think that's brutal and terrible. However, most Korean pro gamers do keep what we call the Wasteman schedule. Now, a Wasteman schedule is basically if you think of someone who wakes up at dawn, you know, eats some oats and berries, does some yoga. Think of the opposite of that. Whatever the opposite of that schedule is, basically going to sleep at 9 a.m. after the sun's up, bleary-eyed, waking up at 3 p.m. in the afternoon and eating Cocoa Puffs. That's the good stuff. That's the Wasteman schedule. And most Korean pro gamers follow that because they do compete in the evening their time usually. And that allows them to be on point. Now, the Raven does get those 2 SCVs, but ooh, Spirit's a little bit too close and barely loses that Raven there. That actually did just barely go down. For only 2 SCVs, that's a good pick off. You're absolutely happy as Kua to lose 2 SCVs to take out the Raven. These Cyclones out here, a little bit risky being on the map this deep. Ooh, he's not going to see the move out. Kua's moving out towards his third base. Careful, mate. Oh, this is actually really good for Spirit. Oh, but he goes for the double lock on. I don't know if that was the right call. Yeah, no, it was good. Oh, he actually didn't go for the double lock on. But there we go. Gets 2 Cyclones for 1. Super good trade. Behind it, who's ahead? We've got 3 barracks pumping. Stim almost finished, so double upgrades going. On the other hand, of course, for Kua, you've also got 3 up barracks, but for some reason, he's got 2 tech labs. And you usually would rather have reactors, but I guess he just had an extra tech lab from earlier, or maybe misclicked one of them. So you will get earlier shields, but no engineering bays just yet. Is Kua planning some sort of nasty marine timing? Like, what is he up to here? This is a very weird, because he doesn't have a marine advantage. He is up 2 Ravens, which definitely helps a lot. But it's actually Medevac's already out on Spirit's side of the map. Spirit's going to have 1-1 upgrades, and the eBay's only now going down. So I definitely feel like Kua being that far behind the upgrades hurts him the longer this game goes. He's going to have to be very careful with picking when and where his engagements are happening. Right now, he's got a good line of tanks covering most of his natural and third base. That double drop, if it just dove into the main, could do some really nice damage. Luckily for Kua, he's on point. Let's go to Kua's camera, guys. He sees it. All right, Kua sees that drop. He's going to pull back into the main base, and Spirit immediately says, okay, you spotted it. No worries. I'll just unload and hang out over here, which is the right way to play things. 1-1 upgrades should be starting up for Kua, but he only starts +1 attack for now. And Spirit has map control. He's feeling really good after defending this early game. Depot goes up on the far left side of the map. 4th and 5th barracks on the way. He's still building more siege tanks. When that shields is finished, I would expect Spirit to lift the barracks, build a reactor, and then put a second factory where that tech lab is. 4th and 5th barracks for Kua. Starting up, he's about 25-30 seconds behind on these extra barracks. So you can feel like, I think one way to describe this is Kua is about half a cycle behind on production. The problem is he's a full double upgrade behind right now, and that's not great. Cyclone does get caught on this left side of the map. That drop's just going to be very cautious after that, because of course your opponent knows you're there now. He could come down and stim on your face. Clearing up these depots would be a good idea. 2 tanks covering it, so no point going in there. And a 4th command center goes down for Spirit. On location, no less. Wow, very brave. He's getting vehicle weapon upgrades, which are huge as the game goes on as well. Armory only just started for Kua. Neither side has that second factory just yet. You can see the 4th and 5th reactor going down. Turrets ringing that left side of the main. And it looks like these Marines will clean this up. Second factory is now going to be building here in the main. You can see he lifted off this barracks, off that tech lab, did a little swapperoonie. Spirit has not done the swapperoonie that we were talking about just yet to get that second factory. But since he's got the 4th command center already, that should be next on his list. He's also squeezed a Liberator out, which is awesome. And actually, he's going to do the old school second factory on the natural rather than the optimized swap, Interesting. It's been a while since I saw Terrans do that. It's a very minor thing in the grand scheme. But shows that Spirit might just be more focused on his map awareness right now, making sure there's no surprises. He doesn't see this move out, though. He lacks vision on this left side. Spirit's got to realize there are some holes in his vision right now. And this sensor tower, it helps. It's not going to give you all the knowledge you might want. Sees this army here, those Marines poking back into that left side. Unit count, 5 tanks for Spirit versus 7 for Cure. He's also going 2 starports in a second factory, but a little bit later than his opponent. A Marine run-by up here. That's going to pull Spirit's units out of position. He stims all of his guys to go over there. He doesn't have many medevacs. And they're all out on the map right now, which means those Marines cannot heal. I feel like Spirit's going to get blindsided by this push. Q is shoving in the front. Let's see if he can break him. Interference Matrix is available. Double Matrix goes down. A third Matrix goes down as well. And those tanks and Command Center should be falling very rapidly. The Command Center doesn't even try to lift, but he's going to counterattack. He stims in on his side as well. A lot of SCVs going down there for Cure. So even though Cure gets the Command Center, he actually loses more SCVs himself. And actually just going to dive on top of it. Cure a bit too far in front of his siege tanks. Good pullback to those siege tanks. The Vikings there are going to go down as well. Who the hell is coming out on top of this? It feels like a trade on both sides. Liberator slides past the turret in the main. That Liberator could be the game changer in an intense moment where both players are focused on the front. That could be massive. Fourth Command Center is going to finish up. Spirit shoves in the front. Those Marines get hammered down despite being 2-2 versus 1-1, which of course is massive. Oh, Spirit's Marines move to the edge of the main and get blasted. At the same time, though, we were talking about distractions. The Liberator is still racking up kills. It's up to 15, 16 kills in the main base of Cure right now. That Liberator may just be what he needs. He's also coming for a Marine Doom Drop, even dragging Siege Tank Friendly Fire onto his own tanks. Oh man, that was a brilliant maneuver by Spirit, who manages to clean up 31 SCVs and take all of that out. He survives on 3 command centers with a massive worker lead. Unfortunately, there's nowhere for those workers to mine from. So all of this lead that Spirit has is only going to be worth anything if he can actually secure more command centers. For right now, there's 4 command centers for Cure. Cure's still fully saturated on those mineral lines, even though he's down 23 workers. He's actually only behind in the upgrades, and with +2 attack finishing, the most important one, he's actually in a good spot. He's behind in Vikings, but up in siege tanks. That sensor tower should be going down. He's going to scan there. Oh, this is going to get really weird. Vikings, tanks, and Marines. There is a tank on the left. That tank is going to be such a problem for Cure. That tank on the left is going to ruin Cure. Cure goes in, but that means the tank gets 2 shots from the left. The Marine Viking sandwich. Oh, no, Cure. Oh, that was the worst scan he possibly could have done. He sees what looks like an undefended base, and he ends up not realizing that Spirit's army was split in the main and the third and sandwiched him perfectly there. That was, you could call that genius plays by Spirit or a little bit of luck. I'd say a bit of column A, a bit of column B. All I know is that Cure is very upset by that because he was like, are you serious? I thought that was the perfect position to win this game. Ends up stepping into a trap and now has been severely punished. Down 20 Marines, up 1 siege tank. Cure needs his tank siege to win this fight. Now Spirit actually could jump on that if he chooses to. He's going to doom drop on it. Or even past it, he's going to doom drop the main base. Oh my lord, a tank will siege up in time. Liberator does get pushed back by the turret. That tank will get a few big juicies off on those Marines. But those Marines will come forward, take out the tank before the third shot does land. This tank on the high ground is also shooting those SCVs. Meanwhile, counterattack's going to come in. He's got very little at home, a tank and a few Marines. These SCVs trying to get out of there, but with the Marines coming down, he can defend, only loses a few SCVs. Vikings and Liberator coming down to that third base. The Vikings are going to land on the siege tanks. I don't know if that's going to work out. I feel like that should be a hold for Cure on that base. It does lose the siege tanks, though, funnily enough. I didn't think that was going to happen. And the Marines in the main are finally going to get pushed back. That tank there being a bit of a nuisance. Nice hot pickup for Spirit. Moves back to the low ground. He has got the momentum advantage. He's picking where and how these fights happen. Where is he getting shelled by? There's a tank on the north. I was like, where are these tank shots coming from? That tank is killing a lot of Marines. It's just killed 3 Marines. It's wounded a lot more of them. Spirit with a quick hot pickup and a pullback. But Q has still got a third base down that left side. Remember that Q is the big favorite in this match. It's going to be Spirit feeling the pressure to finish this off and to not let it slip away. If he can take Q out, it's a big win for him. Nice drop right on top of those siege tanks, though. There's just not enough Marines here. And remember, all the barracks got cleaned up. Q has only got 2 barracks Marine production. This game is absolute chaos to start off the series. Spirit focuses down a bunch of Q as Medevacs boosts his Medevacs home. And he's got his main base lifted down. So he's still got way too many SCVs on all these bases. It's very important for Spirit, to secure a new expansion. because he's got about 10 too many workers there, and also he's got a bunch building turrets, which I feel like is super unnecessary right now. That actually seems like the worst thing to commit your resources to in this stage. I think extra command center is great, and just focusing on unit production should be key for Spirit, but I guess he just says, you know what? This is the sort of messy game where people win by base trading, by doom dropping the main. That's what I just did. I think he's probably going to try to do the same to me. I want some insurance. Fair call. Spirit's going to stim forwards. Does he have the numbers to do this? He does. Kua overcommitting there. I think that was Kua's last chance in this game. He's just too outnumbered. And once again, 3-3 versus 2-2. These upgrades have been devastating all game long. Kua does find that new command center, but having just had his tank count reset, he needs the tank count to make up for his marine disadvantage, both in numbers and in upgrades. With only 2 tanks here, the enemy coming in with libs, as well as a Viking and tanks, it's a big problem. He can try to stim forward. It ain't going to work, though. Kua's got to keep sieging these tanks, and I'd like to see him do some more marine run-bys. Another Liberator comes in. Spirit, dude. Oh, my God. I don't know, man. I feel like some people talk about, you know... Sorry, hold that thought. I was going to say that the spirit, you know, some people say that there's the spirit of the law. Some people say that, you know, there's the spirit of bloody, he used to be called Soul. He changed his name to Spirit. I say he's Spirit of the Liberator, because the Liberator in this game has been his game-winning unit. It has been his absolute Chad gamer unit that is winning him this game. It was all that Liberator harass early in the messy situation that piled over the momentum. It's Spirit's ability to realize there is this one low APM unit that you can just siege in a base, and it forces a massive reaction. And when your opponent's already mechanically overloaded, the Liberator is the most annoying unit to deal with. There's no Viking out on this map. He gets a command center. This Liberator, look at this. He keeps inching his way in little by little. These Marines getting edged. Kua's had enough. He knows those Marines are about to explode. And he does lose a very action-packed game 1. All right, well, that was a pretty epic start to this series, wasn't it, fam? Kua trying to hang on there, but once he lost the production, there was very little chance to rebuild in that game. Kua in the top right side. I would have liked to see Kua, rather than focusing on countering on the frontal pushes, I would have liked to see him stretch out Spirit's multitasking. I always feel like if you're the favorite in the game, what you want to do is you want to focus on pinpricking your opponent. Little drop here, little drop there, coming in from all the sides, and not overcommitting to anything, but basically just extending the engagements until they panic and screw up. Because it's always the underdog player that feels the pressure in these series and starts to make these big mistakes, right? So it really is like one of those situations where if you can just drag that out and then focus on kind of like turtling at home, it's a very good way to play it. Maru does this all the time. Whenever Maru's like feeling like playing that way, often when he's behind in a game, it's like, I'm just turtling with tanks on the high ground, not letting you in, and by the way, here's a Marine drop in your main, Marine drop in your third, doing all these little run-bys and things. Things like the Liberators that Spirit did, perfect example of that actually, where you know, really extending the duration of all of it. Spirit does double up a worker on that patch nicely, and he's going to go for a 1-rax expand. So he says, you know what, you just proxied me, I don't think you're going to do that again. I think I can get away with just doing 1 gas. It's a barracks gas as well, so the greediest form of expansion. And just going to go for a Reaper into a command center. On the other hand, Kua, skipping the scout this game, is going to go reactor first. It's cool to see reactor first back in the meta. For those who don't know, this is dangerous. If your opponent proxy Reapers you, it just jumps in and kills a bunch of SCVs for free. However, if your opponent waits for 2 Reapers to jump in, you can be okay. Or if they build a Reaper at home, by the time it gets in, it can maybe kill 1 SCV before your Reaper pops out and kill it. And if you're quick with mass repair, you won't even lose a single one, because you can see this Reaper pops, the reactor's already almost done. And if you build 2 Marines, you'll actually have them out in time, because they build much quicker, 18 seconds versus 32 seconds. And a lot of players don't go across the map with an SCV scout nor a Reaper. And as a result, you just get that double production up nice and early. Doesn't change your build investment at the start, because it's the same cost as a Reaper. And there we go, factory into command center. So I think Q is probably going to go for a Reaper Hellion dive. I would imagine 2 Hellions, maybe 3, and 6 Reapers. Really cool way you can do this is if you guys want to do a very simple TvT. It's not really an all-in, but it's a very committed build. Don't build this command center. Instead, leave 3 on gas the whole time. Get a starport, build a medevac. And what you can do is you can put all 3 Hellions in the medevac, and you can jump up the ledge with your 6 Reapers and boost in with the medevac. And usually the Cyclone's up here in the main base, guarding for a drop, but it's not guarding for 6 Reapers and 3 Hellions getting dumped on its face all at once. You'll kill the Cyclone so quickly. And once the Cyclone's dead, you just have so much Reaper Hellion, they can't really pull SCVs to fight you because, of course, you've got so much splash damage, you'll blast them down. And behind it, you can go for a very delayed expansion and, you know, try to play a normal game from there, but it's a huge commitment. And the whole idea is if you got that reactor early, you just have so many Reapers that you can overwhelm your opponent. Speaking of which, 6 Reapers, 3 Hellions. So Q is doing that minus the medevac. He's going to go for it in the near future. But Spirit has a bunker and even has a semi-wall-off on the right side. And look at that. He's going to try to run past. Oh, there's no wall-off on the high ground. Oh, no, 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 no. Okay. Good unload on the Marines, but they're not fighting right now. The Reaper and the Hellion coming out. Another 2 Marines are coming out. I think with the F2, it actually looks like Spirit has this. Wow. Oh, this did not work out for Q at all. Now, Spirit. Oh, careful, Spirit. Does try to chase that. Hellion's going to micro his little heart out. The Marines are like, oi, get back here. Flamethrower man driving in circles around the car. Just doing some doughies in the gravel, as they would say. If that was an Australian Hellion driver, and let's be real, most Hellion drivers are Australians. Who else is going to drive a car with a flamethrower on it? I've been rewatching... Well, not rewatching. I watched the... Oh, hold on. Talk about Mad Max in a moment. Hellion goes down for a Reaper. Not a bad trade for Cure. I've for the first time ever, I watched the first 2 Mad Max movies earlier this year. Or actually, I guess last year. I think it was on my plane to Valencia. And recently, on the way to Katowice, I watched Thunderdome. People had already told me it was the worst of the original Mad Max movies, and it wasn't great. But it was also kind of fantastic just to go, wow, this got made. This was a thing. It was such a weird movie. Tina Turner being a psycho. Lots of strange stuff going on. It was a good time. Definitely not as good as the first one was also a weird movie. The second one was really the great of the original ones. I think the second movie and obviously Fury Road was fantastic as such a good modern action movie. Didn't overcomplicate things. Very little dialogue. Lots of action. And let's just say, if I was a Hellion driver, I also, before diving into a base, would be spray painting my face with metal. And shouting about things being shiny and chrome and going to Valhalla and all of that. Anyways, third command center on location is a good way for Kua to use his map control here. Up 7 workers is Spirit in this situation. So he's totaled up really well. The question is, can he use this for a counter-attack? Well, he's only gone 1 Raven, whereas we've got 3 Ravens on the way for Kua. So, I mean, I think Kua is very committed to this, but with so many tanks... And the thing is, Spirit's got Stim... 1-1, and if he goes medevac production, it feels to me like Kua needs to do damage right now, but with only 1 siege tank here? Where's the other siege tank, dude? It's finally coming across the map. Now it's very slow, though. I mean, the bunker's being sold. Spirit doesn't seem to know about this army. Maybe he stumbles into this army and takes a bad fight. Oh, I like this. Double tank shot. Kua with a very good pullback. Those units will heal up. Now, the thing is, you got to be careful about using auto turrets because they're not as good as they used to be. These Ravens need another minute to really gain power. Reaper comes forward. He sees that siege over there. Spirit's just calmly taking that base. And as I said, medevacs. If he gets combat shields starting up now as well, he'll have about 30 Marines with stim shields, medevacs, and 1-1 upgrades. And then 1 minute from now, his army just smashes Kua's army. There's always a window. If you go less Ravens, where you're very weak before... you get all the Marine upgrades, but then those Marine upgrades kick in and your army just massively grows in strength. Kua's gonna go for it! A wild choice for Kua! 2 interference matrices go down, he drops a few auto turrets out front, but the counter matrices from Spirit shut down his only 2 tanks, and with all those stim Marines, who needs combat shields? Who needs 1-1 if you could just stim on your opponent's face? Absolutely annihilating that army. Kua getting way ahead of himself there, and that was not the fight that he needed at all. Once you've been spotted like that, the best play for Kua was to pull home, turtle up, and just try to play a very static situation while he waits for his own stim, Marine count, and 1-1 to come in. You'll be behind on those upgrades, but those Ravens will always give you the advantage because as the fights get bigger, he would have been able to interference matrix 6 siege tanks, whereas Spirit was only ever going to be able to matrix 2. So once you got to 5 or 6 tanks yourself, that's when the Ravens would have given you a bigger advantage in those fights. So to fight the way he did, a bad position for Kua to force the issue, and Spirit right now is playing like a big old sponge. He is soaking up everything Kua is throwing his way in this series. He's up 1-0, now with a 20 supply lead. And once again, Kua finds himself on the ropes, having to dig deep to fight back against the underdog. This is not what you expect from Kua, the guy who is meant to be going out. Now, this is an upper bracket match. The player who loses gets a second chance to qualify in the final round of the losers bracket. But it's already, of course, getting late in the evening of a long day of matches, and it's very, very exhausting to move onwards from there. So 2 more starports go down. Spirit loves his triple starport. That's a huge mistake. This is something where you want to go second factory first, because the whole point with going extra starports, if you go Ravens or Liberator Viking, and in this case it's going to be double reactor, so he's going to play Lib Viking. The whole point of that is you need tanks to cover the Lib Viking against Marines on the ground. But with only 1 factory production, you're not going to be able to do that. So he needs to remember the second factory. I mean, I love that Spirit's taken a 4th command center, but it feels to me like he's rushing ahead. It's actually more important to get the second command factory, and then I would even build a few more command centers before going triple starport. As it is, I don't know if Spirit can leverage this. He knows he's ahead, so he's doing everything at once, and that's sometimes a good thing, but sometimes you get ahead of yourself. Second armory and a fusion core in the way as well. He's really leaning into this mass air play. So the air battles are going to be absolutely crucial for Spirit in this game. He's going to have to win those air battles up against Kua. If he loses 1 or 2 air battles, Kua could easily get back in this game. 4th command center building out on that far left side. I like the way Kua's cleaning up some depot spotters, as is Spirit. Turrets ringing that main base. Only 1 turret for Spirit. Doesn't quite have the turrets syndrome that a lot of Terrans have in the super late game. I always feel like the back of the natural is the most vulnerable, but Kua's got a really good turret there. I really like that. Spirit doesn't, but Spirit's already taken this 4th. So he would only want to build turrets down here or over on the far right. Unit count. It's an advantage for Spirit. I think he could push forwards, but he's actually down in Vikings. That's fascinating. So off a single starport, Kua has a big Viking advantage, but Spirit is building 5 at a time. So he will overtake on the Vikings. That's interesting. He's going advanced ballistics, armor. I wonder if he goes ship weapons now, or does he go for +2 vehicle weapons? His second factory did finally kick in. Down here at the natural, he's building a tech lab. And he's got a bunch more command centers building as well, which will be going into orbitals. So definitely feels like Spirit's order is not as optimized as it could be. But on the other hand, I don't think it matters. He's played such a good early game that slight optimizations in your build order. What I'm lamenting here is that I think Spirit could have just killed him if he was a little bit more focused on maxing on Marine tank. I think he could be denying this 4th base right now. And he may be, even without that, he's still up 10 Marines and 1 siege tank. He still might be able to. But I do think he could be using the advantage. It's always dangerous when a player sits back this long off of an advantage because it lets the supply gap close, and suddenly you don't necessarily have the ability to overwhelm your opponent. Your advantage can dissipate, especially against Kua, who has played hundreds, if not thousands, of late games versus Maru, and often takes him down to the wire. Now, don't get me wrong, Kua almost always loses to Maru. And I'm talking the scoreline is 3-1 if he's lucky, often 3-0. But every one of those games, how many 45-minute to hour-long games has Kua played in the last year versus Maru? So many. And that's why I'm worried for Spirit, because I'm like, look, you get good practice versus Gabe and Clem, but it's not the same as practicing versus Maru, Bunny, Beyond. You know, the absolute just depth of skill in terms of Terran players in Korea is a different thing. And they've been playing a lot of late game. The forefront of the late game, even guys like Ryung actually have exceptional late game. Nice little Marine run bys. You can see both players are vying for map control, but as they're maxed out, players definitely need to do something. Now, Kua is oversupplied on SCVs. He's built 97 SCVs, 6 extra SCVs on that base. And I guess he's trying to mine this base a lot. He's got so many builders, but he's got to be careful he doesn't just get overrun. There's a double drop and a Lib moving around the left side. A very cute pressure. Here comes the Viking Lib, but actually Kua has more Vikings right now. Problem for him is he does not have that armor upgrade. So actually better upgrades for Spirit right now. He's going to start pushing with range Libs and Vikings. Interference matrices go down for Kua. Very nice moves. If Kua wins this fight, he'll be looking very good in this situation, but his tanks have to unsiege and pull out of there. Those Libs are tanking a little bit of damage, which might turn the fight in Kua's favor. In Spirit's favor. Oh no, these tanks are a bit slow to unsiege. Meanwhile, the double drop and the Liberator comes around the backside. Liberator sieges on that 4th base. The Marine drop stims all through the natural. Kua not pulling his SCVs away. A huge mistake. Back at the front, the Liberator continuing to push forward. Kua is a little bit slow to defend this base. That base is going to get sieged down. At the same time, a few Marines dropped in the back of the main. Q is not pulling those SCVs away either. Spirit is out multitasking Q. He is piling so many problems on top of Q at once that Q cannot handle it. Those Marines, if they move deeper, they can get even more SCVs, and they will indeed get a few more. That command center does go down. The Viking fight going on. The Liberators are actually changing the math on the Viking fight a little bit, doing some good tanking, getting a little bit of damage, and it feels like Spirit may be pushing him back. Does deny the 5th base, gets a lot of SCV damage. 40 workers going down. Despite that, Q still has 65 workers left because he way overbuilt workers. But man, not building enough turrets on this top side to stop the drop from passing by was a big mistake. And oh my god, look at that double drop. Finds the orbital on the right side. Brilliant split there. And he's trying to fight the Vikings on the left. Is Q a little slow? He's once again not pulling SCVs away. Q looking like he's been dazed. I feel like Spirit, did he roll a flashbang into Q's booth before the game started? It feels like Q just cannot keep up with the absolute pace. It's like he's bloody blinded right now. And Spirit is the one who's just dancing around him, bopping out those corners and shooting him in the face at every single moment. It feels like he can't keep up. That Liberator, another Liberator came in on the left side, got 6 more kills. The 3 Marines in the main are on the high ground. Finally, the Marines respond. But look at that, he picks up, he's even going to drop on top of the siege tank. I don't think he gets it. Actually, he's going to pull back, and look at that way he's queuing these drops around to be as annoying as possible. Army still driving a wedge right up the guts. 5 more Vikings on the way. He's going to just land the Vikings and go! That's what happens when you start multi-pronging around the back that well. You can just shove it in the front door, and Spirit, solid defensive macro into overwhelming multi-prong, throwing Cure off his game and getting a 2-0 advantage. All right, well, his back's up against the wall, and, you know, he's pretty much defeated. Or is he? It's a Korean Terran player. It's a player who's made it to the finals of the GSL and even won a GSL. This is Cure. And you know what? He's not going to give up easily. He's going to fight hard. He's going to put down his foot and say, not today. The problem is, of course, is it looks like he's been getting overwhelmed mechanically by the multitasking and the raw number of things hitting him. This man up here in the top left is just looking too tight and too on point right now. So I actually feel this is going to be a very, very tough match for Cure, who's actually going to open up 2 racks. Oh, okay. Okay, so this is a 2-on-1 build. Now, obviously, you open up 2 racks Reaper. You go 3 to 5 Reapers, usually just 3 of them. And then you get the Reactor, the Tech Lab, and you swap into Marines. And you can do a double Marine drop, usually about 6 minutes into the game. Maybe as early as 5 minutes 30, depending on, you know, usually you might squeeze like a Cyclone into the build. There's a few things in TvT that you tend to get to be safe. So it's not like a 2-on-1 in TVZ or anything like that. And your command center is a little later and all that sort of stuff. But Cure is going to be going for those Reapers. And if Spirit doesn't scout, which it seems like Spirit is not a big fan of SCV scouting, he's going to build that command center about 2 minutes 20. It's going to be awfully exposed down there. Had a few people asking me about the Serral Ragnarok series, by the way. Should be a cast for that coming out soon. And have tested it out. The whole situation. Most people are completely wrong in their assessment of it. And keep your eyes out for that if you haven't already. The Serral Ragnarok, did he leave too early question. Very interesting one. But yeah. Factory on the way nice and early, even before command center. Wait a second, what? What is this? And he's going up to at least 4 Reapers. Q, what are you doing here, mate? Q is pulling out some special sauce, guys. Now, I think that Reaper should be a little further to the left so you can see them coming through the slow zone. Get out of there, Spirit. Oh, SCV comes from behind. He says, taste my drill. But unfortunately for him, can't keep up with the Reaper. Nice evacuation on the command center, and I wouldn't mind him canceling it. Trying to go Hellions here. Spirit's even going to wall off with the barracks for now. He's going to pull that back so we can get an add-on started. Do we cancel the command center? Looks like with double Hellion production, he feels confident going down there. Now, the thing is, even though Hellions wreck Reapers, there's non-stop Reapers, and now Hellions as well. Okay, this build is crazy. Q's build is absolutely bananas, guys. He's still mining just a crazy amount on one base, but his command center has not started yet. 4 Reapers and an SCV. I mean, there's still double Hellions building for Spirit. The problem for Spirit is he's building a medevac, and that is not what he needs right now. He needs like a Viking or a Liberator, something that just fights. A Liberator would be good for counter pressure, but if he goes for a Hellion drop, he's going to get ruined at home, and oh, his Reaper runs out and dies. That's not good. And there's 2 SCVs exposed on the low ground. One of them will go down, the other one does escape. If he runs up the ramp, he's going to get just roasted by the Hellions. But if the Hellions have to run to him, it's a very different story. Hellions come down, kill the SCV, pull back for now. Cyclone is on the way, and it looks like the add-ons have finally begun on the barracks. Now, Spirit is actually going to give up the command center. High risk, high reward play for Spirit. He's going to go across with his only defense. He has nothing at home now, cancels the command center, rebuilds on the high ground, and Q is like, okay, well, I'm just going to quickly scramble home. Can he get home in time to defend this? Drop those, Spirit, you got to go. Wait, he's going to get spotted. What? What? Oh my god, he somehow crosses over in between the Reaper and the Hellions. That was absolutely insane. It was pure luck. I don't think he even saw the Reaper there. And Kiewit will see these Hellions start to unload. Ah, it's unfortunate. He does give it away. Oh, nice block with the SCVs. Only loses 2 of them there. And that's a very good defense by Kiewit. But at the same time, Spirit preserves his units. It's just that his command center was so delayed that allows Kiewit's very late command center to suddenly feel a-okay. Feels all right. But the next few trades are going to be important. There's still 7 Reapers coming across the map and a Hellion. There is a Marauder out and a Cyclone. Marauder's very good at tanking these units. Cyclone and the Hellions will die really quick though. This is going to get real messy. Hellions dart in, they kill 2 Marines, and then they do pull back. 3 Marines, in fact, look like have gone down this game. So 3rd command center goes up on the high ground as well. Spirit's going to desperately be trying to take these gases. He needs depots actually as well, but I guess the command center is essentially 2 depots. Meanwhile, Hellion Drop's going to go back to the watchtower for now. Behind it, Raven, Stim on the way. Q not going for that double barrel. I was like, he's going to go for a double drop after 3, maybe 5 Reapers. Q is like, dude, I'm going 7 Reapers and a factory and 2 Hellions before even thinking about a command center. I am basically a man who knows 1 speed, 1 gear, and that is go! He knows how to attack, attack, attack. Some people would say that Q's playstyle here speaks of a sort of bipolar mentality, but he would say bipolar, I'm by winning. People would point at the scoreline and say you're clearly not Q-Sheen, but let's see if he can turn this around. I mean, it got him a lead in this game in terms of the work account, just no 3rd command center, so I feel like he still needs to do more here. He definitely has been fully aggressive. I really feel like if he can win this game, he needs to dial it back and be defensive in the next game. Because Spirit's going to start playing so turtly. Speaking of which, 2nd factory. Now, Spirit appears to be playing mech. It could just be a 2 factory tank Viking push, which is a very, very good build to try and kill your opponent. But it doesn't have a transition. It's like you're basically just stuck on this weird tank Viking production. Unless he can get a factory on a reactor in the near future to round it out with Hellions. And great scan by Kua. Kua sees the double factory. And I think if you know you're up against this, there's no way you die to it. And he's going to go Reaper Hellions for the backstab. Oh, that's so smart. So with this build, the most they have popping out whenever they move across the map is like 1 siege tank and a Viking or 2, which will get easily overwhelmed by 7 Reapers and a Hellion. So you can run in, kill a siege tank that pops, and then kill like 20 SCVs. And their whole army has to turn around to defend it. But the Marine does spot him coming. And don't want to lose those guys. Tank gets a shot off. Oh! Oh, this is a really good catch for Spirit. Oh, this is so bad. Ow! He's going to get 1 Hellion for all of those units. Oh, no. He's starting his 3rd on location now. But that was a lot of meat he just lost. He's now building a 3rd barracks on a tech lab, which is fine to have 2 tech labs because it is, of course, mech that he's up against. 4th gas geyser goes down. But the thing is, Spirit actually can swap back into bio here. Oh, wow! Spirit's so clever. So Kua saw him going back. Look at this. This is Kua's vision. So he's like, you know what? Mech's kind of shit if you know I'm doing it this early. So I'm actually just going to use this factory to build reactors for my barracks, and I'm going to swap back into bio. He goes to the double eBay play. Spirit playing a very tricky style. Oh, this is so cool. Cyclone 3 Hellions running forwards. Wah! Careful. Get out of there, Spirit. Oh, those Hellions are going to get burnt. They will damage 1 SCV. Cyclone does get out of there. Both sides kind of throwing some units away a little bit willy-nilly. 3 tank advantage for Cure right now. That is not something to scoff at, guys. 3 tank advantage, up 18 Marines, and a Raven. Oh, okay. I mean, Cure's aggression may have got him in trouble in the previous games, but look at that army. He sees that. He's like, yep, free win. Oh, nice interference matrix defensively. It doesn't matter, though. He doesn't even... Oh, and he gets an anti-armor missile down, but he's got nothing. Spirit doesn't have any units. Spirit doing a very clever swap from mech back into bio. problem though, guys. When you get a little bit too fancy for your own boots, your opponent can always counter it with the day 9 rule. When your opponent's doing something weird, just go effing kill them. And that's exactly what Kua did there. If you give Spirit another minute or two, he surprises you with a swap back into bio. Kua doesn't even let him get there. Alright. Well, he's lost a map now. I think he played pretty well, but unfortunately the Reactor Hellion build just getting overwhelmed just a little bit there for Spirit. He's going to go back to the double gas build order here. Spawning in the top left of Babylon. This is a smaller map in the pool. It's Kua. He's on the comeback path, and he's doing it with aggression, which failed, into aggression, which failed, into even more aggression, which finally paid off. And I have to say, I really want to see Kua rein it in and play a little more defensive. You can still play defensive Raven styles. Yes, auto turrets aren't as good as they used to be, but interference matrices are still great. Ravens are still very quick to build. And I think Kua just needs to slow down, take a deep breath, and say, look, I might be a little jet lagged, I might be a little tired. I'm on foreign soil. I know that Spirit is here playing in his home country of Poland, and definitely he's going to kind of have the fans behind him and stuff a little bit. But come on, I've just got to slow down and piece together a victory. I've got to win this game and the next to get back in it. That's going to take some fighting spirit because, oh, damn it. Some fighting spirit because Spirit is obviously looking super solid right now. But Reaper's going to move on out. Spirit, once again, not SCV scouting. Kua not wanting to take any chances, so he actually SCV scouted. So he's a little behind because of that. But at least you can use this SCV. It times out. It gets back to the natural right around at the moment where you want to build that command center. And I think he builds that before starting the Hellion up. Yeah, there we go. 222. A few seconds earlier. Actually, Spirit's is not that much earlier. Interesting. Both of them pulled a bunch of workers off gas, but now Kua repopulates his gas as he goes into the Hellion. The reactor for both sides, and it's a mirrored build order. So no difference between the two, except that Spirit is a little more mineral focused here, a bit slower to rally back into that gas. Depot goes down there, and the depot for Kua has not started yet. So Kua goes starport, then depot. Interesting, this guy is going to pull there and start that depot right on 100 minerals. And he's also getting the Widow Mine, which is the best defensive unit. Early game TvT, the Widow Mine one-shots anything. It's a very nice unit if you don't mind camping at home. So if you think your opponent's going to run in with like 3 Reapers, 2 Hellions, the Widow Mine can really turn that fight around. Command Center's mostly finished. Up to, and you can see a little bit of a supply block here. So this costs you a bit of economy getting the starport this early. You lose a little bit of SCV production time, and now you're like, okay, I'm down 1 SCV, but I've already got a medevac on the way. And that's why I think it's a very valid call to do so, because you can get the drop across the map first. If Spirit also goes medevac, he's going to be later. But no, he's going to go for what appears to be a Raven. And I imagine he builds a new tech lab for a Cyclone as well here. Raven starts, tech lab starts. Third gas, he's got mining there with 3 workers. Also Kua, mining with 3 workers. So very close build orders. But here we go. First drop will move across the map. We're going to see 2 Reapers, a Hellion, and 4 Marines. If that gets in the back mineral line, it can do big damage. But if Spirit immediately starts a Cyclone, that's huge. One of the biggest things, if you guys out there, guys, girls, ladies, gents, Zealots, Zerglings, Marines. Well, actually, not the Zealots, not the Zerglings, just the Marines. For all the Mariners out there, if you guys want to get better at TvT and you struggle with early drops and everything, just focus on the time your Cyclone gets out. Anytime your factory is not building a tech lab or not building a Cyclone or a tank early game, that's you having less units. You will be a much better player if you just don't miss any production on these 2 buildings in the early game of TvT. Here we go, that Cyclone, if it was a few seconds early popping out now, you could see how it could shut this drop down, but without it, he's overwhelmed. The Raven might have to use an auto turret, which is not fantastic here, and the Cyclone locking onto a Marine, not very effective at all. 2 SCVs and gets a Hellion, doesn't actually lose too many units. Spirit there, letting that damage get spread across them. Could have gone a lot worse for him. On the other hand, you only lose, what, a Reaper and a Marine for Kua? Which is not a big deal at all. He's also got his own Ravens pumping out. His natural is well saturated. And that natural command center doing good as well. Cyclone's on the way. Second one coming out. Second barracks on the way. Wait, did he see it? Did Kua see that second barracks? He did not. Okay, this is important. Basically, Spirit is committing hard to 2 base, guys. He is wanting to do, potentially, probably a 3rd barracks before going into a 3rd command center, which means he wants to be much more aggressive, potentially look for a killing move. He still might take his 3rd command center, but more likely to build it on location, maybe 1 minute, 1.5 minutes from now. So very committed to 2 base. Spirit has only gone 2 Ravens. He's going to do some auto turret harass, and then I expect medevacs, Marines, stim, and to go forwards from there. Interestingly, he still drops the third command center. So Spirit's kind of doing what I would call the in-betweeners build. It's kind of halfway between an earlier aggression and not. Looks like you got one SCV in the main, one SCV on the natural, and two SCVs end up going down. He's going to go for one more auto turret there. Very nice. But that's all of his Raven energy gone. Now, you've always got to be aware, when you do this, you're like, yeah, look at my economy. It's so good. He's losing so much mining time. And then they push across and they interference matrix your tanks, and you don't have any Raven energy, and you lose the game. And you're like, oh no. Spirit, watch out. Oh, that Widow Mine. Okay, it only gets a Reaper. That could have been worse. Cyclone tickles the Raven of Cure. Luckily, he pulls back, does Spirit, but Spirit needs more tanks. He's building a bunker, a very wise choice there. Looks like another auto turret came in and got another SCV or two, but Cure has been very quick at pulling away and minimizing that damage, and he realizes, I have more stuff than you. I can come and punch you in the dick right now. Spirit's going across the map with the double medevac. He's going to go on the north side. The Raven tank Marine there coming down the south. We've got the third command center there. Two barracks are pumping. Stim is almost ready. He's got two tanks, a bunker, two cyclones. It's a good defensive force. It's hard for Cure to smash the door in. On the other hand, that Stim Marine drop could ruin Cure's day. It is so scary to be dealing with Stim Marines this early in the game. The Cure's got matrixes, he's got tanks. Cure needs to get in there though. He's taking way too long. He's playing very cautiously right now. He doesn't seem to realize that Spirit is doom dropping his main. I say doom dropping, and that's because this early in the game, 16 Marines with Stim is the equivalent of a doom drop. It is so impossible to evade crazy damage when that's in your base. Back on the other side, the bunker goes down, but Vikings do come forwards. If they can win the Viking battle, that'll be big, but it looks like they're losing that battle, unfortunately, for Spirit. Cyclone's getting some lock-ons. Auto turret goes down to help turn things in his favor as well. Meanwhile, the Marine drop got pushed back by... Why have they not killed the command center? I don't know why they were killing depots up there. Looks like they were afraid of the siege tank, of course. The multitasking, very heavy on both sides. Ravens getting picked off. Two Ravens go down. The SCVs get pulled, but those SCVs are going to get slaughtered, I believe. Wait, that tank is still alive. It's going to get maybe one or two shots off before it goes down, and there's two tanks on the high ground. Spirit will hold the high ground, which is very important. He loses 19 SCVs, but his command center is still alive, at least for now. Behind this, it looks like the double drop has survived. Did he get the command center? He got the command center, and he redrops into the third base. The Viking coming over, but if he can get that command center as well, he's going to put Cure back to 1 CC. Oh no, Cure! Cure's going to lose the command center. The tank might be able to get the punish. He's trying to pull SCVs to repair, but he saves it. Cure with a clutch save there, very important. And whilst he does not break the command center or the SCVs, or a few of them surviving, Cure has a contain on the natural. He doesn't have air advantage, so Vikings can push back. But of course, as long as Cure has some scans available, he's going to be able to still do some very cute things. Those Marines veering around. One of the medevacs does go down, though. Stims forward, tries to get the Viking. Has to pull back, though. Cure's being very cautious. Cure at 6 tanks versus 3. But, of course, Stim, Marines, a medevac, and now combat shields on the way. Spirit's only mining off one base, though. Should he float a command center out and drop mules elsewhere? Maybe. I think Spirit needs to go right now, though. If the reinforcements are allowed to group up, then I think he's screwed. He's got to go right now before these reinforcements arrive. The Raven comes in. One interference matrix goes down. The Marine tank coming forwards. Lovely move, especially with the Liberator there. And his Marines escape from that flank. I really thought Cure was going to get there in time, but Spirit manages to break this near perfectly in a very small window that he actually had the units to do that. And that means he can land his command center and get back to mining, which is absolutely crucial. Spirit will hold on and stabilize. Unfortunately for him, Cure has double the work account. Cure may be down a command center, but he can start a third one. He can rebuild. The only problem for Cure is, of course, the fact that he doesn't have extra production. He can only build one Marine at a time, and a Liberator's coming across the map. He doesn't have much to deal with that right now. That Liberator, remember in game 1, the Liberator, Spirit of the Liberator is his new nickname. As he says, "Hello, sir, would you like some freedom?" Because that's how Polish people speak, guys. Just joking, that's the Liberator pilot. She is going to blast that mineral line down. SCV's going down. 3 of them are falling, and already that's a big pain. You're only on 2 bases mining right now. That's pretty damn big. The tanks are going to pull back. The Viking advantage for Cure is very scary, but as long as you save your scan energy and stop dropping mules, you'll be okay as Spirit. Spirit didn't save any, but I like that Stim Marine running forward. Unfortunately, he doesn't have another one. He's going to lose some tanks. Oh, no. Quick pullback, and he does go for the mass repair, though. It looks like the Liberator did escape there. 4 kills. It's going to rotate around the map. Very important that Spirit did that, and he's got to stop muling, man. He has to stop muling. In this scenario where they have the air advantage, as long as you're doing other stuff, you should be fine. Double drop comes in, though. Hasn't really got the SCV because he's going to try dropping there. There's only 2 Marines. He was going to pull back from it, wait for the siege tank. Not a bad move. The tank reaches to there. Means it's just out of range. Spirit can at least clean up these buildings and move around the edges. These tanks have pulled back. They're getting full repaired. I like that Spirit's scanning here, and he's still got control over the top of the ramp, which is the important part. 8 Marines will get saved. The Vikings did shoot down the other medevac. Now look at this Spirit sneaking out units for a flank. He's setting up another break on this. He's setting up another break on this. Those tanks on the right need to unsiege and move forwards, though. They need to move forwards and siege. We've still got 1 Marine in the back of the base. If he clicks on these red hit point SCVs, he could do it. Cure! Oh my god, Spirit! If you just shift click, you can kill like 5 SCVs here. He gets 1. Oh, but then Cure does send the Marines to defend it. Okay, the Vikings are here. The tanks are all on siege. Here we go! Yeah, Interference Matrix Auto Turret from behind. A beautiful Marine tank spready. Absolute annihilation. The Raven does get shot down, but so do some of the Vikings. The tank falls as well. And yet again, a beautiful break on the natural contain, keeping Spirit's hopes alive in this game. Remember, he's been dropping triple orbital this whole time. He's retaking his natural gases, floating down to his 3rd, and most importantly, he's tied up the work account. The Liberator harass was absolutely crucial during this. Both players have lost a ridiculous amount of SCVs. I cannot believe they are so evenly matched that this is going to reset yet again. 1-1 upgrades start at identical timings. I kid you not, 20 seconds? 20 seconds. How? How are their upgrades perfectly timed after that early game? Explain this to me, internet. Explain this to me. It's identical workers. Okay, as I say, that 3 SCVs finished for Cure a few seconds early, but it's almost identical workers, identical army, identical upgrades. There's a few more tanks for Spirit, but more Vikings for Cure. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. For a game to be this even after that early game is utter madness. And Spirit's going to keep dropping. He's going to go 3 tanks and about, what is that? I guess that's 18 Marines and 3 siege tanks. Oh, no. Oh, God, he's watching. Thank God he was watching there. That could have been an absolute game-losing disaster. I like the idea of, in these messy games, just sending big doom drops around. I think it's a very good way to play because neither of you can really afford to spot everywhere on the map or to build missile turrets. A lot of people, they don't really understand timing in StarCraft. They're always like, why wouldn't you just always build 10 turrets in your main? And the big problem with that, it's a valid question. I know I make fun of the way people ask questions. It's just because we hear them 1,000 times as content creators in StarCraft. So we kind of give you guys cartoon voice. It's a good question. The reason is, if you build 10 turrets in your main, they'll just kill you with a frontal push. You just won't have enough units, right? It's more important for you to keep your production up, get a big army. And then once you're getting closer to max, you're on 4 bases. Suddenly it's like, hey, you've got money to spare. You can build turrets and extra command centers and sensor towers everywhere and all that sort of stuff. But to do that this stage of the game, when you're both at 110 or 120 supply, it gives up so much army numbers that your opponent could simply push through the front, overwhelm you, and you'd be screwed. This isn't the Liberator from before. No, he just keeps on squeezing Liberators in. Now, I got to tell you guys, in practice, I don't think this works very well versus Cure because he's calm, he's collected, he's chilled out. But in tournaments, things that require large responses from minimal APM investment have big dividends, even at pro play. And that's why I love the choice to keep on building Liberators and using them, because it costs you just a little bit of money that's not that impactful in the big picture, but it really disrupts the rhythm of your opponent. And in this case, it doesn't really do any direct damage. Look, he just pulls the workers, you rotate to the main, the Vikings will clean it up. But if he happened to pair that up with these guys also getting positioned somewhere else, it would give you such a good opportunity to find a big opening. And it puts pressure on Cure as well, because while he's dealing with that, he might get a bit paranoid, like, oh god, where's his army? I've lost track of his army while I'm dealing with that. Cure might be having an internal panic attack simply from not knowing where the army is right now. He's like, God, where is it? Are they just outside sensor tower vision here? Is the army about to appear down here? You see the way Cure is very paranoid. He's moving his army around, and that's the power of just constantly doing small harassments to deal with your opponent and to put pressure on them. Force mistakes. Now, second factory is down. Spirit. Okay, so I guess Spirit just never builds the second factory. That's interesting. I kept thinking it was a mistake in the previous game, but he always builds it on the natural much later. Whereas, like, Cure does the more modern thing that where it doesn't mean it's better. It's just what Spirit's doing is a bit older. Lately, people really prioritize that second factory tech lab swap. And it's interesting. I don't think it's worse. I think Spirit's a little bit better at holding the Marine key down. Right now being the rare example where he's not doing that. He's actually got a big gap in his Marine production, which seems to be a conscious choice. Oh my god, so Spirit has decided this is such a turtley game. Why max out on Marines? He's like, nah, those units aren't the best at max. So he goes second armory, fusion core, 5th command center, 2 more starports. So he's actually already getting ready for the air game. And he actually thought he was about to get doom drop, so he was picking up some tanks, getting ready to boost back into his main base. No ring of turrets here for Spirit just yet. And he's still not building Marines. He's like, yeah, 50 Marines is more than I need. And Cure, on the other hand, maxed out, but he maxed out with a lot more Vikings. So you can see there's going to be, no doubt, an attempt to catch up on those Vikings for Spirit. The question is, does he mix Ravens in? Because I don't think you need 3 starports with tech labs. I think you could easily have, with reactors, sorry. 6 Vikings at a time is kind of crazy, but he's going to do it anyway. Oh, no. Yeah, he changes it. Okay, he cancels one and builds a tech lab. So just to keep in mind, Vikings only take 30 seconds to build. If you have 3 reactors, you can build 12 Vikings in a minute, which is usually about the maximum number of Vikings you ever want on the field. So it's kind of a crazy amount of production to have. Both players vying for position right now. Remember how this game started. How the hell did it get here? I do not know. 3 orbitals versus 3 orbitals. Lots of command centers building for Cure right now. He's trying to build the Iron Bank of Bravos. Trying to make sure he has unlimited credit to fuel as many armies as he wants. He's going to have to hire the Golden Company. He's got to win this game, and the next one does Cure. And this still could go either way. Right now, air upgrades are improving at a faster rate for Spirit. He's got the armor upgrades. Neither side made +2 vehicle weapons, which is usually the most important upgrade in the game, but I think because they figure this is more of a positional air war, doesn't matter as much. 3 tanks looking good, but he can drop in the main. The Marines are just going to try and overwhelm. Crazy move for Cure. Whoa! Spirit dives on the army on the top! Oh no! Cure! Distracted down there! Oh my god! Cure! He was so focused on the fight on the bottom, and he stumbled into enemy territory. Yes, he killed 3 siege tanks, but other than that, what? The tanks defend 4 SCVs. He lost his entire army. I'm sorry that I was casting that from watching the wrong fight as well. I did not think that Spirit was just going to dive on that army on the top because it looked like he was in the defensive stance, but he looked at that army, he said, that's mostly tank Viking, and the tanks aren't sieged. He literally just stim A-moved his way to a massive advantage. Look at the units lost tab. 18 tanks and 25 Vikings have died for Cure in this game versus just 5 tanks and 8 Vikings. That is wild. What a massive waste of numbers. Now, I'm going to have to go back at the end of this replay to 16.5 minutes to check that. Those who are watching live in Twitch chat, please shout that towards the end of the game so I can actually look at that fight from start to finish. Marines, tanks, Vikings, Ravens. Going to try and clean up those boys as well. Cure's got to be careful. He's got a lot of bases, but he's so down on supply. He needs to remax, and every Marine he throws away is a disaster. He's making rapid reignition system. Medevac upgrade cannot be the most important thing right now. He's also only got 2 factories. If you've got 3 factories, I'm okay with you focusing on tank Viking production, but otherwise, no. Viking does push back that drop in the north, especially with the turrets layering up behind it. Only 1 siege tank there. Liberator. Oh my god. Liberator. Who the hell are you, Spirit? Is this your 5th Liberator? It's his 3rd Liberator this game. He's just made each one count for so goddamn much. And does he might just reposition when he sees that base there. Double lib. 1 coming in from the north and the south. The east and the west at the same time. Spirit style. There's only 1 tank there, which means he can clear out the sensor tower. Bunch more stuff. That Liberator will siege up on this base as well. A few more Marines getting cleaned up. He's driving a wedge down the south. He's got a position here where he's kind of just harassing that base, forcing a response to the backside. And then while Q is cleaning up those things, guess what? I've got the army advantage still. It's time to push. It may be 3-3 versus 3-3, but look at this. If he can siege in range of this planetary, that could be amazing. He even gets a Marine drop in the main. The Liberators and the tanks will clean it up. You might think, oh, that's not even achieving anything. But remember, this is all a distraction. And now the tanks are in position. Cure realizes he has to give up this base. The SCVs are trying to get out of there. A lot of them go down. 20 SCVs evaporated. Cure may need to counterstrike through the middle of the map, but he feels he doesn't quite have the mobile army numbers to do it. He's shut down back to 4 bases. However, Spirit does not actually have that many bases himself. He's going to keep driving forwards, though. Cure needs to stop this army, man. There's such a big Viking count for both sides. The air war will be crucial. It's 1-1 upgrades on both sides. The +2 armor will finish soon enough for Spirit, but it's not there just yet. Who's going to win this air fight? I have no idea. Anti-armor missile will help out Spirit a ton. He's going to go 4th there, and that Viking count is going to start turning in his favor. But got to be careful not to chase the Marines. The planetary fortress goes down without a mass repair. Cure is back to 3 bases. He's got a new base in the north. One of those extra orbitals. He's got another command center there. He will be able to retake these bases if he can get out there. But Spirit has so much more money. He's got mass commands, and he's built 4th and 5th starport making Ravens. He's floating a command center to the north. I'd love to see him float one to the south. It looks like he has chosen to do that. Maybe he's just building that. I'm not quite sure. His army still scanning on the south side. Kua splitting some units to the north. He doesn't know where this next fight is going to happen. Ravens, transformation servers, building armor are on the way. Right now it is 1-2 upgrades versus just +1 air weapons, no armor upgrades. Soon to be +2 air weapons for Kua. Kua finally countering Liberator Harass with Liberator Harass, building a missile turret underneath it. Not the most time-effective way of dealing with it, but it will get rid of it eventually. Spirit floats a command center to the south as well. Liberator will get pushed back here by a single Viking. Air advantage goes to Spirit in both upgrades and Viking count, but there's 6 libs that could change the math on that. Careful! I think Spirit might be overcommitting, even with the anti-armor missile. There's a lot of Viking tanking going on, but Kua, a little bit afraid there, does back off there now, and once again, Spirit wins an air battle. The Liberator siege up is absolutely brutal. It's crucial, it's brutal, and Kua's tanks, he's going to lose at least one of them. Another one taking a couple of shots there. The Liberator doing so much, but a Liberator on the south side comes in, gets 8 more SCVs. Liberator in the north did manage to hide. The Viking not quite chasing it to its doom. Here it comes, the push, though. Spirit will not stop marching forwards, looking for these trades. I think he's got to be careful, though. I do think he's got to be a little careful in terms of how these fights go. The Raven's going to drop some anti-armor missiles. The auto turrets disappear almost instantly, and I think this fight might go in Kua's favor. Spirit may be getting over-eager. I don't think Spirit needs to keep pushing here. I think Spirit can actually just chill out. And remember, Mass Raven is not what it once was. They're good for interference matrix, but you don't actually want to Mass Raven anymore. You want just enough for matrixes. I would say about 6 or 7 Ravens is the optimal number. He's at 8 going on 9, and he's massing Vikings. Q is going to go for a counterattack. Okay, I don't even know what the hell is going on right now. That Liberator gets some damage, but it'll get cleaned up. Command Center's getting caught. Kua goes for a giant run by, but there's a lot of tanks. He's going to be moving into a very dangerous position. It looks like the Vikings may have won this fight on this left side of the map. There, that gives the air control. This tank will go down. Kua doesn't even stim. He just walks into it, takes it down. It's a good position between the bases. I'd like to see Spirit try and start moving some tanks up to these ledges to try and siege from the high ground. The Liberators come forward, and they get annihilated! Oh my god! He lost the air battle, but then because he felt so much pressure on the backside, he tried to commit to the air battle even harder. Loses all of his libs and Vikings to Spirit. His tank's isolated out here. Right now, both players need to be investing in Marines. Those are the mobile unit, which neither player has right now. Luckily, a Viking in the top right will defend that Liberator. Spirit's still up 30 SCVs, but for how long? He's got nothing to defend. The south side, that planetary will get caught. Vikings getting ready to land on the tanks. The tanks are paranoid right now. They need to get back over here. But Spirit, he got so committed to that corner of the map. I would have liked to see him move back and take center control. This is a problem in TvT. TvT is a lot like chess, guys. If you have center control, you can do whatever you want from there. But if you give up center control and get your whole army stuck in a corner, over-committing to that position, your opponent can pin you back there with an inferior force while they take control of the map. And that is exactly what Kua has done here. As flank comes in. Oh, it's a 3-sided flank. Interference matrix and Vikings come in from all sides. But dude, so many tanks were sieged. They kill a lot of Spirit's force. Spirit does lose the command center as well. Another base of Spirits getting caught and isolated in the north. Now, it's clear Spirit has to drive a wedge through the middle. He needs to counterattack through the middle. He cannot just keep chasing these armies. Spirit needs to stay offensive in this clutch moment. If he pulls back and starts playing defensively, he's going to give the position because he's on 18 tanks. He can only really use at most 10 tanks in one position. Any more than that is massive overkill. Right now, Spirit could have half his army pushing the left, half his army cleaning up on the right, but instead you can see Spirit is pulling into a bit of a defensive shell, a bit of defensive mindset, and it's because Kua is using the exact same tool that Spirit was using to his own success, and that is the Liberator. Liberator harass has been constant, and now little squads of Marines to follow it up. That's not a planetary anymore. You're busy dealing with this Liberator. Yes, that's the 3rd Liberator kill this Viking will probably be getting, but these Marines find yet another undefended base. This army running back and forth in a big blob. Spirit, he's so close to getting to that group stage. He wants to get there. If he wins this map or the next, he will get there. But you can see he's starting to lose control of the map. The Liberator comes back in. The Vikings do clean it up. But oh my god, another command center goes down. The Marines get in, the Marines get out. Kua is so low on economy. He's only on 50 SCVs right now. He's trying to pop these command centers back down. But notice all of his minerals are gone on his first 3 bases. Only this mineral line and this mineral line. That's his entire economy. Spirit still trying to use Liberators. I like that he's staying offensive with the Liberators. The problem is that he's not splitting his army up. And that is a big issue. Spirit is at 140 army supply. He's been at double the army supply for a while, but he's keeping it in a blob. And this is where Spirit sometimes seizes up. If there's one critical weakness in Spirit's play over the years, he's very good at light harassment and defending one area. But when it comes to choosing when to frontal push or when to split his army up, sometimes he does stiffen up a little bit, and Cure is piling on enough harassment that's making it really hard for Spirit to choose when and where to fight. Right then, Spirit just sieged his whole army for a couple of tanks and marines when he could have just A-moved that without actually sieging up. And you can see Cure here trying to stitch together a scrappy defense. He's trying to intimidate him with a much smaller force. That is 17 siege tanks. Liberator in the top left comes in, but the Vikings are on point. Both sides are really getting better at cleaning up those Liberators. It feels like the time of the Liberator has ended. Both players have been hit by so many Liberators, they're not going to do it. Spirit, oh no! Once again, he commits his whole army to the corner of the map. It's the same mistake he made before, and Cure says, okay, maybe you kill this base, maybe you don't. You know what? I'm going to win the air war, and I'm going to shove the middle at the same time. Spirit sees it. Maybe that gives him time to get back there, but he's got no tanks. He's got no tanks. He comes in with a Viking. He's going to land it on the north side. These tanks might be able to just A-move over that, but he's not going to be able to utilize it. He's stimming his Marines, but he's massively outnumbered. Spirit stimming into a losing fight. Cure, once again, lets Spirit commit to the corner of the map. He lures him in with that layered defense, and then he shoves into the production. Cure refusing to give up in this game. He says half the army supply doesn't matter. We're almost tied up now. Spirit, though, does find one of the only 2 mining bases, and rather than trying to crack the front, this time Spirit will simply pull home. He's got Marines, Vikings, interference matrices, try to hold the ramp, but Cure has too many 3-3 Marines. He's going to come back and try to defend those siege tanks, and I think that's a really good call. My God, these fights are disgustingly favored for Cure. The units lost tab starting to show us a 4,000 resource advantage. Remember, Spirit was ahead earlier. He was ahead in the units lost, ahead in every single metric. Now Cure is fighting back like a god. The Marines in here pushing up towards the main base. Tanks are not good at defending. They can't chase an army down. They're good if they're in front of the army, but not at coming back and cleaning up an army that's already got past their position. It's like trying to chase your opponent's cavalry around with your artillery. That's what we're seeing. Spirit, he's got literally horses trying to bloody drag his cannon pieces around to chase the enemy light cavalry. It's not going well. And another push for Cure finds the mining base. How is he getting all this damage done? He is running circles around Spirit, and Spirit at this point, his geriatric tank column has said enough is enough. I'm going to leave 3 tanks plus my rally to defend. Everything else is going for the throat. I am sick of defending. How can I not be winning the game when I have double the tank count? And he's realized, well, the trick is I need to be picking where the fights happen. I can't be chasing you around. Oh, those Vikings are going to run into the Marines. Good pullback by Cure. Lib's trying to siege. The tanks are in a pretty good position. The Liberators are causing some problems, but some good tank volleys do land. Nice interference matrix. Another Lib siege is up, though. Oh, man, these Liberators. Cure with the clutch Liberators. He's cleaned up one of the tanks on the right, 2 or 3 of the tanks on that side as well. The tanks are trying to shuffle in and out, in and out, in and out. But much like a man who does not want an unexpected pregnancy, Spirit is sweating. He's really struggling. They're trying to move out of these lib zones, but the lib zones are moving faster than he can keep them up with. The tanks are coming back, as are the libs, taking advantage, and he's pushed Spirit away from the ramp. I don't think Spirit can get in the main anymore. Spirit has to back off. He did not get crucial damage there. 33 SCVs for Cure. He's got a base here and a base here. 2 mining bases for Cure, 1.5 bases of mineral patches. Spirit still has the top right, and that's it. The other base is almost completely out. Command center count. We've got 4 orbitals for Cure versus... Whoa, what? Spirit doesn't have a single orbital. Oh, no. Spirit does not have a single orbital in this game, and that means he does not get the vision. Cure has been able to scan his army. Spirit is not able to do that. He's still got a big army. He's got 36 Marines, so he's up 20 Marines, but he's actually down in tanks. He's got 7 Ravens, which are very good for interference matrix, but remember, auto turrets aren't what they once were. Nice matrix there. Those tanks will siege. One of the medevacs does fall. Just got to make sure those SCVs don't escape, and I don't think they will. Remember, Spirit cannot scan. He can't scan the army. The tanks can move forward and siege, and he can't even reactively scan. The Liberators absolutely blast his tank line apart. The Vikings chasing down the Ravens. Cure, the comeback kid, the man who refuses to die, said, "Hello, kids. Have you heard the tale of the Korean Terran?" Because he is an undead monster. The Korean Terran, he's not just a single player. He's a goddamn entity and an idea. He's kind of like Batman, but more unkillable. You know how Batman somehow never gets shot in the part of his face that's exposed, that isn't covered by his Kevlar? Well, guess what? That's Cure right now. Except he's naked, and somehow the bullets are just bending around him. It's like he can not just refract light, he can refract bullets, siege tank shots, and all the rest. He is now ahead over 5,000 units in the units lost tab. He's down to just 9 SCVs. Don't get me wrong, Kua just lost his entire economy. But he crushed the army of Spirit. Now, Spirit's best bet might be a base trade here, because he's still got the planetary mining in the top right. His SCVs are fighting Marines right now. Taste my drill! But Kua pulls back the 133 Marine to the mineral line, where he can take on about 15 SCVs one at a time there. What the hell? Kua's pushing for the kill. I think Spirit needs to go for the base trade. Go for the base trade. You've got a smaller army, but a better economy. Oh, he's going to go for the interference matrices. So many matrices go down, but I don't think he has the Marine count. I also think he did not stim there. And there's Libs, Vikings, tanks, and Kua refusing to die in this game. Oh my god. It was the Kill Bill scene where she punches her way out of the grave. Kua just doing his little coffin punch like a bloody savage, and he just kept on getting out of terrible, terrible positions. Let's very quickly go back and look at that. Let's go look at that 16.5-minute fight where it was a pretty even game up to that point. And then Kua lost his entire army. I do think Spirit should have been able to capitalize, but it's one of those things, often you don't realize how many siege tanks you have, and I really think that's what happened for Spirit in that game. If he kept pushing and split pushing with his tanks, he would have been good, but yeah, got way too committed to the corner. Oh, so here's that point. Remember, we were watching down here as these Marines came in, as was Kua, and he's only got 10 Marines. He's got 19 Vikings. And whenever you're using a tank Viking army, you have to be very careful to be sieged up at all times, because if you don't have Marines, that's 50 Marines for Spirit. So Spirit just stims on top and gets the easiest fight of his life. Absolute crushing engage. He sieges first, and he just annihilates that entire force. Huge mistake for Kua, and something where Kua should have been scanning ahead, checking where the army was, getting those tanks pre-sieged, and then this drop would have been a good move. But Spirit, with some killer instinct, punished that. Unfortunately, unable to capitalize in the late game. We're going to get a game 5. All right, well, he's now letting 2 games slip against him, and that is unfortunate. Spirit down here in the bottom right side. Can he stop the momentum shift? Can he stop it in its tracks, or reset and keep himself on track? Because he was definitely in a massive advantage in that last game. Got a little bit excited, overcommitted a giant army to one corner of the map, and due to that defender's advantage, Kua was able to split across and do massive counter damage. Lovely play by Kua in that one. And I really feel like, just thinking about that whole situation, it's so common in TvT where you can just get lured into a corner of the map. Way too much of your army is held back by such a small force. And the thing is, if you have a heavy Marine force, it's more capable, especially if it's Marine Raven. If they're defending with just like 5 or 6 tanks and Vikings, you just like interference matrix the tanks, stim a move. But because Spirit was so heavy on siege tanks, it became even more important that he was either half his army was at home defending, or half his army was like pushing both sides of the map at once. So at least he was doing crazy critical damage to his opponent while being out of position at home. But we always talk about how in the late game of TvT, there's this common thing where it's like, say Spirits and Kua have split this map, right? They're like fighting to defend down here, fighting to defend up here, and they end up being all the units reinforcing to these extreme flanks. And suddenly the middle opens up, and the army can just dive in the middle and get into like in between all the bases, get in between the production. So there's this dance between focusing on the extremities and then realizing, okay, now the center's opening up because we're so focused on the extremities. Let's try to take advantage of that, or at least not leave it open for our opponent to take advantage of. Kua did a brilliant job of that with his positioning in this game. He's going to go 2 Reapers in this one. Double gas, of course. He's pulled 3 workers off gas. Just 1 Reaper into Reactor for Spirit. We'll see what happens on Gressven. Quite a long map, right to left. A lot of room for like mobility to win games here. And it looks like the command center will go down. I think he was going to go in for a snipe on that. So he started his command center, and I think he's going to look for that SCV. Let's see, how quick do you respond? Oh, he sees the command center and actually pulls back, tells Kua. Interesting. Second Reaper, Hellions on the way. Reactor. Ooh, no Reactor. He's going to go for a 3rd Reaper. Interesting. So all Kua knows from this is that it was indeed a double gas opening into command center. Spirit doesn't really know anything. Spirit has no info at all. He's going to be going straight into double Reaper production and a Widow Mine. So it looks like 3 Reapers, a Hellion, a Widow Mine. Not a bad little force to defend with early on. And that Starport goes down. This time the depot does go down pre-Starport. So not as big of a supply block as in that earlier game. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Spirit's Depot a little later, you can see he hits a slightly larger supply block. And of course has a later starport because he's spending more gas on the Double Reaper. But swapping now into Marine production is Spirit. I'm trying to think if there was any other really big mistakes for Spirit in that last game. I do really question the double armory. Spirit's been really focused on double armory in all of his games, but I don't think the 1 or 2 upgrade advantage that he's ever had has really resulted in much. I actually feel like if you just keep one armory going non-stop, it's probably more important. There is an argument behind maybe getting the second armory, but I feel like he should be going +2 vehicle weapons as well. It's interesting because we do often see players get so stuck on Viking tank, and then, you know, the game gets scrappy, and it's the Marine player that has much better mobility and can win things over. So if you focus on the tank Viking, you got to make sure you don't really let your opponent out-position you. That was the big mistake of Spirit in the last game. And Kyo did a really good job also of winning some of the Viking fights, even though he had a lot less production. I would also argue the Ravens did not pay off in that last game. That was interesting because you can't just spam auto turrets out. It used to be that you could always just spam auto turrets out in messy situations. The Raven, it feels like, has to be used a bit more technically these days, where you can't just be like, oh, I've got 10 Ravens. Oh, no, they're stimming on me. I'm caught off guard. Drop 10 auto turrets, win the fight, lol. You actually go, oh, crap, I need to actually have plenty of Marines and have my tanks sieged up and all this sort of stuff. So I definitely feel like the late game Viking lib is always something I thought was easier to utilize than going for the Ravens. And I think now more than ever, it's more important to just have lots of Marine tank and then try to win the Viking war. But actually committing into the Ravens does give you a very complicated unit set where Matrix can still be game changing, but I would not be focusing on the Ravens as heavily as players used to. I would always think of it as like, hey, let's get 4, 5, 6 Ravens. Let's not go for 10, 12, 15, 20 Ravens like they used to. Third command center on location, a very good move for Spirit. He's only down 1 SCV in this game, so a very even early game. And it looks like a Widow Mine for Spirit out here, a Widow Mine for Cure out here. We'll see if either of those picks up a Cyclone kill this game. Units lost time is completely blank. These guys are just chilling for now. But is it going to stay that way? They've both taken a third on location. We've got 2 Ravens for both sides. A third Raven on the way for Cure, while Spirit is already going into Viking and Medevac production. So a single Medevac is interesting. Stim starting up, maybe thinking about doing an early 8 Marine trade. That Widow Mine goes down. Looks like the other Widow Mine only killed a single Marine, so slightly better trade for Cure. But Reapers aren't very important, you know. A lot of people go, oh, Reapers are 50 gas, they're really good. Oh, he goes into the tank and does lose a Cyclone for a Cyclone. So, yeah, still looks like good trades as a Hellion went down there as well. And actually, oh, Cure. That Cyclone's so damaged, he can intercept on the high ground. Oh, this is such a good move. If he can get both Cyclone kills, this will be massive. Cure. Oh, great movement there. And Spirit not expecting that one at all. He's going to lose all of those units for free, essentially. I think 1 Reaper went down, but an 8 Marine drop. He's probably going to wait for Stim to finish and then go in with that would be a great way to do it. Second and third barracks goes down. Second and third barracks is already finished for Cure. So Cure, wow, he's getting much quicker into the barracks. He's already got the double engineering bay finishing. Hasn't even started yet. And Spirit moving forward with 2 tanks, 2 Ravens, and a Viking. What a tiny army. I don't think that's a very good force. And look at this Hellion Reaper counterattack. Oh, he clicks on the mule. Nicely done. It's a pretty fresh mule that goes down, gets an SCV. He's going to grab a few more as well. Could even get out after all of this. The Marine drop does get in the main base, though. Stim is not quite finished, unfortunately. So just a couple of SCVs going down. The siege tank can move over, but Cure can jump up to the high ground and cause a bit of a nuisance. The tank Viking can't do anything against that line of siege tanks. These 8 Marines look like they're doing okay with the help of the medevac. Some good positioning for Spirit, but as the tank comes out, definitely time for him to leave. And he will do so. Tank does get 1 shot off. Takes 2 Marines out before they can escape. How is that Reaper still alive? Finally goes down. But not before 4 SCVs fall. So it does feel like Cure maybe came out slightly on top of that trade. Still slightly ahead in the units lost. I'm kind of worried that Spirit's still in this position. I'm looking at it going, are you sure you want to be there, buddy? But if you can get a Raven. 1, 2. Oh, he didn't quite get that final shot on that Raven. Would have been worth losing a Viking for that. Second and third barracks aren't getting the add-ons on time. This is a big issue. Spirit's upgrades aren't both started as well. Even though he's got the Viking advantage and he's building libs, this is way too slow. I do not like Spirit's play right now because he's overcommitting to a frontal push. And even though he has the air advantage, this is just asking for Cure to run around with Stim Marines, Interference Matrix your tanks, and just collapse on this push and annihilate you. I like that Spirit's pulling back now. But the fact that he's building 2 Liberators when he needs the gas to be going tanks and getting more reactors on a 4th and 5th barracks, that's an issue. Notice there's 5 barracks, 4 reactors up, combat shields there as well. Cure is looking really clean. He's adding the armory. He's just following a standard solid macro path, while Spirit kind of foreshadowed and gave away what he was doing. He kind of said, hey, look what I'm doing. I'm going for tank Viking push. Didn't get any damage done with it, and now he's actually down on siege tanks, even though he's got the Viking Lib advantage. It's a big map. It's a map where it's very hard to use that Viking Lib advantage. So I want to see the Libs used for harassment, and indeed he will do that. One of the Marines sees one. Nice move by Cure. Sees the Liberator there. Doesn't see this one moving down the left side, but already going for a 4th on location. Cure expanding very aggressively. Both players are on 70 SCVs. Spirit does have a 4th started earlier than that. And Marine drop coming down the south side. Tanks are covering that base. That depot will be going down though. Nice freebie. Grab an SCV, grab a depot, and then just get out of there. Always a good move. It's just making sure there's nothing there spotting. Where is the Liberator? It was right on the very edge of the map, so very hard to see on the mini-map there. It's going to come in behind the natural. Marines are going to stim into it. And Cure not bothering to pull SCVs. He says, screw it, we'll just stim Marines on top and clean it up. Liberator in the back of the main just hiding for now. So no big damage at all. Viking going to try and push this Marine back. He pulls it back and the depot does start building, but the Marines will come back to clean that up one more time. Definitely feels like Q is doing a very good job of maintaining all of that presence. Second factory does go down here for Spirit. And 4th command center is going to float out to the north side. 5 more SCVs for Cure right now. I like that he's stopping at 80. Well, actually, he builds a few more. I think 85. 90 should be the absolute most SCVs you ever go for in this matchup. Any more than that's crazy. And these Marines are going to chase him down. Oh, good micro by Cure. He gets the 2v1. He's actually going to win that fight. Dude, just the little details. Looking so slick, fam. Gets an SCV or 2. And he's going to try and do a little stim run by down in the bottom at the same time. While an army moves up in the north. Look at that. Gets a gas. Could get a Viking or 2 if he moves to the right. This is so annoying, and the army's going to move in. Spirit has been outpositioned here. Oh no, Spirit, you fought so hard. He might be regretting losing that last game. He's got to be careful. The tanks are moving forward. Double interference matrix. Nice evacuation on the 4th base, though. There's no Vikings, and that command center and those SCVs can pull back. A good, mature choice for Spirit to simply pull back. That siege tank will go down. These SCVs should get out of there. Double drop on the south side, still pinning him back though. I would love to see Spirit do some counter aggression here. It really feels to me like, hey, remember how you overcommitted to the corner and got punished last game? Well, Q is doing that right now, and notice Spirit is going to do the exact same move. But he could get punished. Q now can shove in. Q realizes what he's doing well ahead of time. Spirit realizes he's not going to do the damage on the other side. He's got to pull back, which is the right call. But is he too slow? Let's see. Maybe Q walks into a sandwich like in that game number 1 or game number 2. And here we go. Oh, 2 of the tanks go down inside a medevac. Another tank or 2 falls. He tries to save these tanks, but I think he may have overcommitted. Spirit a little bit derpy with his Marine positioning, but it does not matter. He annihilates that push. Yes, he loses his Ravens, but he smashes that army. And Cure once again walks into the sandwich. Just like earlier in this series, Cure has been overextending with those moves. He does get a few more SCVs in the main and an armory, though, denying that +1 vehicle weapons. That is a pretty good army versus army cleanup for Spirit, though. Relatively even in the units lost time. Spirit is down to 62 workers versus 83. He's going to reland his base, needs to keep building SCVs, and most importantly, rebuilding his armory. Because if he doesn't rebuild his armory, he's never going to be able to start +2 armor or +3 attack. And that's a big problem that he hasn't realized just yet. In the chaos, he's struggling. Cure sending yet again another army on the offense. The best defense is a good offense, but is he being too greedy? Spirit may be able to just stim for the win, but with 4th and 5th siege tank coming out, actually, I think Cure is okay here. I think if Cure sieges these tanks, nothing Spirit can do. Spirit's got to be careful, man. It's another giant run by. He's only got 2 tanks defending. Is Cure going to sandwich himself, or is he going to find the big economic damage one more time? Spirit is already in a very fragile situation, but Spirit does catch that one. He's got a Marine drop in the main. They got 6 SCVs apparently in the midst of this. Very nice play by him. Ravens going for the interference matrices, gets 2. 3 of those tanks are shut down. That's a lot of Marines coming in. He's going to have to pull the boys, I think. The Vikings trying to land. The boys need to pull. They pull a little bit late. The tanks are going to go down. Oh no! Spirit taking massive damage, and Cure just all over him here in game number 5. It feels like Spirit just has a bit less map control, and whenever he pushes, it's a little bit flaccid. He's got way too much army committed to not really cause any impact on the front. These Marines need to pull back. They got 3 more SCVs. He's going to drop 1 Marine back in the main base. Can he stabilize and defend in his natural? Looks like he might finally be able to. Marines coming around the north side. Luckily, the Planetary did finish. If he repairs that, he should be fine. Planetary will take that out. Tanks still doing nothing on the front line. Single Marine drops in the main, takes out 1 more SCV before it goes down. Planetary does defend on the right side, still on 4 bases. Oh, sorry, 3 bases only for Spirit and 60 SCVs. The Liberators come in. Very nice move. Wow, the Marines, they should absolutely be stimming on that. A little too slow to capitalize. Spirit should have jumped on top of those tanks a little bit slower. He gets 1, 2, 3 siege tanks. Really nice moves. Gets a command center. And he says, okay, you may have taken out my base, but I just took out yours. 26 SCVs go down as well. Problem. Kua is coming in for the surround. Kua wants to sandwich the sandwicher. It's been Spirit sandwiching all series long. He's coming in with a Liberator. Oh, God. Is Spirit's back in this game? I thought Spirit was screwed, but he's back in this game. Liberator on the south, denies mining. Army drives a wedge through the center. Kua moves his whole army out. Yeah, again. And guess what? Medevac sees, okay, there's a few units in the main, but I really feel like Spirit could potentially move forwards and do a draw. Oh, maybe not there. There's 2 tanks there. Those tanks siege for Kua. He should be perfectly fine. Kua's going to move forward, siege those tanks, clean this one up. Unless Spirit can use the Liberators, which, ooh, he doesn't have Lib range. He's rebuilding his armory behind this, but 3-3 is going to finish for Kua. That's a problem. Those Marines come forward. They do take a few tank shots, but still a giant army on the map. Spirit's got to be very careful. He's got to really pull back and just rebuild his economy right now. He's actually up 14 workers. He's done great damage. The bottom base is finally back up. The Liberator killed a lot. This Liberator gets in there as well. No way! He finds another opening! Oh no, but wait, these Marines get caught out. Looks like a lot of those Marines go down. Spirit is getting a lot of damage. If he can kill these E-bays, that would be huge. Spirit, if he kills those engineering bays, that would be massive. But the tanks are sieging on the high ground. He anticipated that good pullback by Spirit. It's just so unfortunate because those 3-3 upgrades versus 2-1 is going to be massive. That's going to be a triple Marine upgrade advantage. And it's Mass Marine versus Mass Marine. Kua's on 93 Marines right now. Lib comes in from behind the third. It's going to get shot down. Tanks are sieged in range of the Planetary. Behind this, Kua has about 1 billion Marines, but he cannot break the natural. He can definitely take out the Planetary on the north, though. Let's see how this goes. Tank sieging this base. This base on the bottom being mining right now is Kua's lifeline. If he loses this base, he's screwed. He's got to find a way to break out. He's looking for it right now. These tanks and Marines moving forwards. Kua can't figure out where he wants to fight. I think he's just going to stim on that base and see if he can take it out. Spirit's got a mass repair. Mass repair, Spirit. Oh, he's not watching. And that is a very decisive call for Kua. Gets the base and a base of workers at the same time. He loses a base, though, and a lot of Marines on the south side. But Spirit cannot stim a move that. His Marines are a bit too wounded. They will get killed by the splash damage. The Liberator siege is up. Double Liberator, in fact. Oh my God, that's Kua's last bit of economy. Kua's last bit of economy is about to get blasted out of this game. Kua does not have any other command centers. That is it. That is his only command center right now. And he has no money. He has 1 orbital. 1 orbital floating down. Okay, there is 1 more. So that's not his last command center. He has 1 orbital floating to the natural. Meanwhile, on the other hand, we've got 1, 2 orbitals are mining for Spirit. Spirit took more damage earlier, so he's got more mineral patches on those bases as well. He's got 10 tanks and 80 Marines versus 10 tanks and 85 Marines. Big problem, 3-3 versus 2-1. Oh, you gotta be siege, Spirit. Spirit, if you get caught unsieged, your Marines will not win this fight. He's got 3-2 upgrades coming in. He's building more Liberators. Spirit has a better economy. I'd like to see more drops, though. If Spirit can just sneak a drop by into the economy, it's already so fragile for Kua. He could get ruined. Good pullback by Spirit in that situation. I think Spirit might actually have this. He's building a new command center. He starts a starport, realizes, oh, I don't need that. I've got one. Actually, he's going to build 2. What? Why is he building 2 starports up here? So Spirit seems very obsessed with Tank Viking, but this is not a late game. You have no mining. So going triple starport doesn't make sense here. I will argue that till my grave. I think this is a weird decision where he's decided, I think we're going to have a Tank Viking standoff. But I see the units tab. I see everything in this game. He does not. And I know that this is a mass Marine war. If anything, you just want more tanks, more Marines, because this is all about the mobility. Liberators ain't going to do much in this game. Having a few Vikings is nice, but any more than 5 or 6 is not necessary. Liberator does siege up, take out the SCV on that base. That depot will spot this army before going down. I would love to see this army try to get home for Spirit. He's going to just try and be turtled at home while keeping that army in position. Not a bad move. That Liberator will get cleaned up by the Marines on the north. Kua still playing down and dirty. Kua is at half the worker count. Kua trying to build another command center there. This one also building. I think that's the right call. In this scenario, you just want to keep building your economy back and play a pretty standard game. Because both players have so little map control and so few bases, there's not really a lot of places where you can strike their economy. So it's all about army versus army, and just max out your army while building more command centers. Oh, Spirit flies a marine drop through. Great reaction by him, actually. Could have got hunted down by the stem marines. He's going to load up another drop and move out. It'd be funny if this one flies over those marines as well. But I think it's just barely out of Cua's vision. Oh, he's going go Raven again. Spirit's going Raven again. I really don't think Ravens matter that much in the late game. Don't get me wrong. If you're very technical at handling it, they can be great. And he's got a lot of gas. Oh, that's why he's done it. He had a gas bank. You know, this is kind of clever. I'm going to take back what I said. Clever usage of his mismanaged, or not mismanaged, but misaligned economy. When you lose a lot of bases, you do end up with more gas than minerals. So that actually kind of makes sense the way he's doing it. Now, Spirit's lost his medevacs down here. This army could get isolated. He's got to keep doing damage on the other side of the map. This is a brilliant move. This 8 marine drop, I kind of wish it was like 24 marines, like 3 medevacs. But nonetheless, gets in there, kills some marines, gets an SCV. And will damage the command center a little bit before picking up and getting out of there. Spirit, oh, a little too slow to pick up. Loses 3 of the marines and will pull back for now. Still an army on the right side as well. Both sides have these armies just stuck out in no man's land. Can you believe this series has come back down to this? Spirit is making Ravens 2 at a time. Spirit is up in siege tanks. Spirit is up in marines, and he's closed the upgrade gap. +2 vehicle weapons is finished for Kua though. That means they will one-shot stimmed marines. Whereas the siege tanks on Spirit's side do not have that +2. That's kind of big. It is kind of big. It does make a big difference. It's also the difference if you get these guys, they're doing 80 damage. You know, they're putting those siege tanks very, very weak after 2 shots. Spirit's looking to break this army. He's going to go for it. Oh, 1-2 interference matrices. The Marines stem forward. Kua should get out of there. Good choice to run for Kua. Gets a Raven on the way out, which is kind of cute. And nice move by Spirit, who's got that new command center up. But he didn't really build any extras, and even that's a planetary. I really do like the fact that Kua's rebuilt 2 more command centers here. So it's 3cc versus 3cc now. And the Raven count is growing, but I like that Kua's building a few Vikings, which will help him deal with that. A few Marines come in behind the natural. I'd love to see some more big drops. I do still feel like if you can sneak a big triple drop by as Spirit, you could just wipe out the economy. If Kua's out of position for like 4 or 5 seconds, the Liberator does some good scouting. It'll die, but it sees the army, and that's what's most important here. Seeing where that army is. 80 Marines versus 76. 2 more tanks. I mean, Spirit's ahead. The thing is, yeah, it's still going to be hard to force a fight, especially with so many tank marine down there. He's got to be careful. Spirit needs to bring this army back. He needs to play very defensive with his main army and get this army home. Spirit's going to try and push forwards with it, but historically he hasn't been that good at pushing on the kind of off lane, right? When there's fighting going on elsewhere, he hasn't been that effective. I like him moving this army home, but he's got to keep track of this army in the north. That army could be very scary right now. Okay, 11 tanks versus 11. Man, this could be anyone's game at this point. Kua fighting back from down 0-2. He had momentum on his side, but right now he's in a down and dirty knife fight. Spirit is not just going to give up. He says, I had the previous game kind of in the bag. I let it slip away. Doesn't mean I'm going to drop in my level of play. I'm not tilted. I will simply knuckle down and play some bloody good StarCraft. And if you want to get me out of here, you're going to have to beat me. And that's going to be really hard. With 7 Ravens out, I said that was probably the optimal number, 6 or 7. I think that's a pretty good count. I think now that he's regrouped his army as well, this all comes down to the battle. He's going ship weapons, still no vehicle weapons upgrades, which will make a big difference in the fight, you could argue. But on the other hand, you've got interference matrix. You can get all of those tanks disabled. And a lot of the Ravens are lacking their second interference matrix. Don't underestimate just how long it takes to gather energy, guys. At the moment, it's 7 interference matrices. Give it another 30 seconds. It'll become 14. Double drop around the north side, a very good idea. Income tab. So head for Kua 10 minutes ago. Head for Spirit mostly. With a little bit of Kua catching back up there. 3 Vikings building at a time. A lot more command centers trying to be built by Spirit, but some of them are exposed out on the map. Double drop in the north, gets spotted by the medevac. Spirit will go past, but that's a one-way trip. There's a lot of Vikings converging on your position. If he can shove the bottom base at the same time, it could be effective. He just has to be careful not to get into base trade like those previous ones. Spirit's double drop. He'll be unlucky. He'll be lucky to unload anything. There we go. Nice siege up on the lib. I do like those Marines getting out there. Doesn't really stim them. He's going to shove forwards, but oh, that tank on the high ground It's going to cause a fair bit of damage. It's got more tanks behind it as well. He's going to shove forward here. Whoa, opportunistic move. Spirit going for auto turret spam as well. A lot of the Ravens go down. His Marines seem to have got a pretty good fight, but they've got to stop chasing. They've gone a bit too far. They get 18 SCVs in the command center, though. The interference matrices were good. If he can keep sieging that mineral line, he just needs to drop a scan there. Does Spirit. He's also got Marines in the main base, which he's accidentally F2'd back. They could have been killing more stuff up there. A bit of a mistake for him. Marines do find the north base. SCVs getting out of there. These tanks having to push back from that Liberator. The Marines and the Vikings should be taking that Liberator out. It is not covered by that much. Oh, but he's starting to take some damage. Liberator does go down. Vikings take out a Raven, though. A lot of the Ravens went down. This was not a cheap trade for Spirit. He's ahead 2,000 resources and units lost. The Marines go up north and manage to save that base. I would love to see him rotate his whole army around and clean up some of these tanks and whatnot. But right now, those tanks kind of on their own, but it could also surprise Spirit and get a lot of damage done. The command center barely survives. Q's economy is hanging on by a bloody thread right now, and Spirit's got a new planetary up there. He's got a new planetary going up on the south. Spirit is losing a lot of tanks, though. And what is he going to remax on? Tanks, Vikings. His Marine count's a little bit low. He's got to be careful. Q has done a very good job with the tank Viking sieges. He's also got those 4 tanks waiting as a bit of an ambush squad on the north of the map. These tanks are sieging up. Does do a nice scan. The Marines come forward. Oh, Spirit's going to go for it. Gets an anti-armor missile, but at the end of the day, it looks like Cure is winning these fights. Spirit just needs to run home. Oh, but wait, the Viking Lib might actually win this fight. His tanks, does he save him? He saves one of the tanks, doesn't get the second one, and he's going to have to pull back from there. The tanks do siege. One Lib goes down. Nice tank snipe. The tank does take out a bunch of Marines on the revenge. Marines, tanks, Vikings rebuilding for Spirit. Spirit's income is clearly ahead right now. There's only one base mining for Cure. What happened to his base in the top? I don't even know, guys. Where'd it go? Did it burn? Did it burn down? There was definitely nothing from Spirit up there. Cure didn't repair his command center. He let it burn down. Oh my god. A massive mistake for Cure, but he finds this base. Spirit's gonna have to give that one up. Spirit needs to pull back, gather his forces, and win this next fight. He's down 20 army supply. He keeps bleeding out units. Spirit needs to gather his forces right now, or go for the base trade. Either way would be a decent call. Spirit is back up to 4 starports. He's been spending so much money on starports. He's still trying to build Ravens. All that matters is Marine tank numbers right now. And he catches a few tanks in the open. He does stim for it, but good pullback by Cure. Oh man, the Libs. Oh, he's going for a very aggressive siege. His Spirit may be too far forward. His Libs get blasted, and that was a very good trade, actually, in terms of army versus army for Cure, who also gets the planetary up here. Spirit is still ahead economically, gets a good tank volley. And I do think with the Viking advantage, he should be able to start sniping these medevacs and kind of maintaining position. Spirit still has a big income advantage, but he's got to stop building Ravens, focus on Marine tank, and just look for the one contained engage. Cure on 1 base income for the last 15 minutes of this game, I swear. I'm exaggerating. Maybe 8 or 9 minutes. It's a long time. Each time he gets back to 2 or 3 bases, he loses them. Spirit is still down 8 army supply, and he's very keen to use the Vikings. It's all about the Marines, though. Right now, whoever has the Marines is going to win the next fight. In these small, low economy situations, Marines is everything. And there we go. Marines are being built. Vikings being built for Cure for some reason. I don't think that's a good call. It's all about his tank count. He's up 7 siege tanks right now, which is massive. 7 siege tanks could be game winning. Interference matrices and Marines, I understand the strategy of Spirit. It's all about matrixing the tanks and stimming with the Marines. But that is too many siege tanks to count on that. I think he needs to up his own tank count to deal with this. Marines come in and distract him. His tank siege in the bottom. Cure may realize he saw the tanks out of position. He's going to dive for it. Cure diving forward. He's going to try and get a wedge between the bases. And oh no, Spirit way out of position. Cure says, this is my one moment. I can do this. The interference matrix is from the left side, but only 2 of the tanks get taken out. 3 anti-armor missile goes down as well. But the tank volley, the +2 tanks eviscerate Spirit's army. They say, do you want to see a disappearing trick, says Cure. He turns that army into a fine bloody mist in 1 big volley from those 11 siege tanks, and those +2 tanks annihilate Cure, fighting back from such a crazy and messy situation to get that there. Oh my lord. If you watch this fight, it's equal Marines on both sides, so that should be relatively even. But just look at these tank shots go down, and the tanks come in way too late for Spirit. He needed to give up ground there. But my lord, Cure just fighting back from behind. 6,000 resources lost in the difference there. Absolutely incredible. And yes, guys, the command center did burn down. So he landed it. He was mining from it, building SCVs even. But he didn't. I think he just misclicked this SCV or something. I don't know. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Sick play on both sides, though. Really sick play. I think at the end of the day, Cure just made the game messy enough and was so much better in terms of his movement when the game got very close. I loved Spirit's Liberator play, but I would have liked to see him a little bit more focused on Marine tank positioning, especially on such a long, big map, rather than just being focused on the tank Liberator over and over. I think there was too many fights like this one where he was trying to force the kind of siege up engage. And you see how even though it looks like a good engagement, the Marine stemmed forward and the higher Marine count punished him many times and got so many high value kills. So very well played by Cure. What an incredibly fun, crazy series. I really feel in terms of unexpectedness, not knowing what's going to happen next, especially in Game 4 and Game 5, and just the fact that it was a crazy comeback. I think this is already a contender for Series of the Year. I'm sure players will say, well, because it's not the guys who win the World Championship, it doesn't count. But I don't think that matters. I think in terms of raw unpredictability, this series had it all and was one of the best TvTs I've seen in a long time. Let me know in the comments if you guys liked it or not. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye and good night.